If you've ever worn a little black dress, a boxy tweed jacket, or a quilted bag on a chain, you've been living in Coco Chanel's world. She didn't just design clothes, she designed a new default setting for modern womanhood. Simple, mobile, expensive looking, and somehow effortless. But here's the strange part. During World War II, while Paris was occupied, Chanel wasn't struggling in the shadows. She was living at the Ritz, an epicenter of German power in the city, and later reporting based on wartime intelligence records tied her to Nazi intelligence as an operative with the code name Westminster and agent reference F7124. So how does one person become both the symbol of women's freedom and a name that still makes historians argue in footnotes? Gabrielle Bonheur Chanel was born in 1883 in Saumur, France, in poverty. And the first key to understanding her style isn't a runway, it's a convent orphanage. After her mother died, Chanel was sent to the Aubazine convent orphanage. Picture strict lines, black and white uniforms, silence and architecture that basically screams, minimalism before minimalism. You can almost see the future Chanel brand forming right there. Fewer frills, fewer bows, fewer "look how rich I am" flourishes. Just clean shapes and sharp contrast. And her technical superpower, sewing, was learned there too. The nuns didn't teach her to be glamorous. They taught her to survive. And Chanel took that lesson personally. As a young woman, she tried singing in cafes. She wasn't famous, but she was memorable enough to earn a nickname from the crowd, Coco. More importantly, she learned something huge. In Belle Époque France, your story mattered as much as your talent. So she started rewriting hers. Chanel didn't have family money, titles, or a respectable entry point into high society. So she did what ambitious people have always done. She found patrons. First, Etienne Balsan, a wealthy heir. Then, Arthur Boy Capel, the man who didn't just love her, but funded her first shop in Paris in 1910. And right out of the gate, Chanel did something that seems obvious today, but was almost offensive then. She made comfort look elite. In the 1910s, rich women were basically wearing sculptures, corsets, heavy fabrics, big hats, clothes designed to prove you didn't have to move. Chanel looked at that and thought, absolutely not. She opened boutiques in seaside towns like Deauville and Biarritz, where wealthy women wanted to walk, ride, travel, and, radical concept, breathe. And then she committed her biggest early crime against fashion. She elevated jersey, a fabric associated with men's underwear and sportswear, into chic women's clothing. During World War I, when scarcity and practicality suddenly mattered, her look went from weird to necessary. And then, tragedy hit. Boy Capel died in a car crash in 1919. Chanel was devastated. After that, black stopped being just mourning black and became power black, the color that would become her most famous weapon. By the 1920s and 30s, Chanel wasn't merely a designer, she was a symbol. She moved through aristocratic circles, had a long relationship with the Duke of Westminster, and became close enough to the British elite that Winston Churchill was part of her wider social orbit. Her designs absorbed all of it. Tweed hunting jackets became women's suits. Men's knitwear became chic staples. Her whole aesthetic said, I'm rich enough to dress like I'm not trying. Meanwhile, fashion got a rival. Elsa Schiaparelli, surreal, theatrical, and loud. Chanel was the opposite, disciplined, sharp, modern. Their rivalry became legend. But the bigger shift wasn't just fashion, it was politics. Chanel's circle overlapped with right-wing nationalist ideas in interwar France, including her association with Paul Iribe and the magazine Le Témoin, which promoted nationalist themes and criticized Jewish business, according to academic commentary on the period. And then, history shoved everyone toward a cliff. When war broke out in 1939, Chanel shut down her couture house, an empire large enough that reports say around 4,000 employees were suddenly out of work. But here's the twist. She didn't disappear. During the occupation, Chanel stayed in Paris and lived at the Hotel Ritz, a place intertwined with German military power and high-level officials. This is where the story turns from fashion history into spy thriller. Chanel had a relationship with Baron Hans Günther von Dinklage, a German diplomat with intelligence ties. And later, reporting based on wartime intelligence documents described Chanel as tied to Nazi intelligence operations. Again, Westminster, agent reference F7124. If you're thinking, wait, that Coco Chanel? Yes, that Coco Chanel. The most revealing thing Chanel did during the war wasn't sketch a dress. It was paperwork. She had long resented the business deal that left the Wertheimer family, her Jewish partners, with control over the company behind Chanel number 5. During the occupation, Chanel tried to use Nazi Aryanization laws to take the perfume business back. In a May 5, 1941 petition, she argued the company was still owned by Jews and had been abandoned. But the Wertheimers had anticipated the danger and transferred control to a non-Jewish proxy to protect the business. Chanel's attempt failed. Then there's Operation Model Hut, a reported plan involving Walter Schellenberg in which Chanel would use her connections to reach Churchill and float the idea of a separate peace. Accounts say the effort unraveled when the courier involved denounced the group as Nazi spies. Chanel was questioned after the liberation and then released. Some reporting has long claimed Churchill intervened or that powerful connections helped prevent a public scandal. No dramatic trial, no official reckoning, just Chanel slipping out of the frame. After the war, Chanel spent years in Switzerland. Then, in 1954, at age 70, she came roaring back, partly out of spite. Christian Dior had introduced the new look: cinched waists, structured curves, a return to old-school femininity. Chanel hated it. She thought it shoved women back into decorative cages. Her comeback was mocked in France, but embraced in the United States, where buyers saw exactly what she was selling: clothes that let you live your life. And the wartime story? It never stopped evolving. A major V&A exhibition in London, running September 16, 2023 to March 10, 2024, highlighted documents that appeared to list Gabrielle aka Coco Chanel among people officially recorded as part of the French resistance. But historians also raised serious doubts about what that actually proves. Even pop culture is wrestling with it now. Shows like Apple TV Plus's The New Look brought Agent Westminster back into public conversation, sometimes gently, sometimes uncomfortably. So we're left with a legend that refuses to sit still. Innovator, mythmaker, opportunist, maybe a political gambler who bet on the wrong side and still managed to walk away in heels. Coco Chanel didn't just change fashion. She changed how power looks when it's pretending to be effortless. And the real question is, when you see that interlocking double C today, are you looking at liberation or at a perfectly tailored cover story?